Chandrasekhara, 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 Pahima. Chandrasekhara, 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 Rakshama. Chandrasekhara, 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 Pahima. Chandrasekhara, 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 Rakshama.
Radio now I can turn YouTube.
YouTube can start now.
Okay.
Thank you, Mama.
Hanga betao. We can start?
Mama,
yeah, we can start.
Okay. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Agajanana Padmarkam Gajanana Maharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe Shri Rama Saumitri Jatayuveda Shadananaditya Kujarchitaya Shri Nilakantaya Dayamayaya Shri Vaidyanathaya Namah Shivaya Vagartha Vivatham Praktau Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagata Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhake Saranye Tyambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Shri Krishnaya Namo Namaha Nama Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadeva Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda Shri Maha Tripura Sundaryai Jaya Jaya. By the limitless grace of Shri Periyava, we are entering into the fifth and the last of the lectures on common dharmas under the broad heading of Sanathana Dharma. As I mentioned yesterday, we are extremely lucky that this telecast is taking place with me sitting in Srimatham premises with the blessings of the Adhishtanams of the two Periyavas and in the immediate presence of Shri Periyava. Great blessing, great opportunity, as I said yesterday. On the common dharmas, we have been looking at 10 common dharmas. Dhritihi kshama damosteyam shautam indriya nigraha dhir vidya satyam akrodho dashakam dharma lakshanam. Out of which we have seen dhriti, steadfastness, kshama, forbearance and patience, dama, keeping the sense or external sense organs under control, asteyam, non-stealing, non-covetousness, shaucham, purity in thought, word and deed, indriya nigraha, control of all sense organs, internal and external, dhihi, buddhi, intellect. We have seen so far up to dhihi. Now we are going to see vidya. Next is vidya. Now vidya is commonly translated as knowledge. But it is very difficult to translate, as you all know, Sanskrit terms into English. Vidya, though it is correct to describe it as knowledge, to translate it as knowledge, it's not incorrect, but it is much more than what the term knowledge conveys generally to us in English language. Vidya has been categorized into two in Upanishads, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Paravidya is what leads one to moksha. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye, so says the Upanishad. That is called Vidya, which leads one to moksha. So that is Paravidya, superior Vidya. The Aparavidya, which is not superior, which is inferior Vidya, includes even Vedas. All the 14 Vidyasthanas, which we saw, sources of knowledge, come under Aparavidya, because Vidya by itself, learning anything by itself, does not pave the way for moksha. It no doubt helps to understand the principles of the marga, the path for moksha, no doubt. It helps us, great help. Otherwise, we will not be having so many books, we will not be having so many upadeshas, so many saints coming to us and talking and so on. All that is definitely useful. But that is not enough. The fact that that is not enough is conveyed by the term Aparavidya, because there is something called Paravidya, which is experience. It is experience of Atma, Atma Anubhava. Atma Anubhavam is Brahma Anubhavam, which is Brahmanandam, extreme bliss. The bliss which you can never find in mundane circumstances, in mundane things. Now, all mundane pleasures can be acquired by using Aparavidya. Brahmanandam can be obtained only through Paravidya. This is the basic difference. But Aparavidya is useful for laying the path for going towards Paravidya. That is not denied. The other day we saw how Narada approached Sanat Kumara in Chandogya Upanishad for seeking Brahma Vidya from him. Then Sanat Kumara asked him, "What do you know now? What have you studied?" Then he gave a list of Aparavidya, Vedas, Shastras, everything. Then he said, "Whatever you have learned is nothing. It's of no use for what you are seeking. What you are seeking is Brahma Vidya, and all this is of no use." Then he said, "Okay, that is why I have come to you. Please show me the light." Then he showed him the light of Bhuma Vidya, infinite. Vidya which is infinite. How can anyone acquire by reading books or by listening to discourses some Vidya which is infinite? There's no way, isn't it? Whatever we learn has to be finite. So if you are looking at infinite knowledge and infinite intensity of experience, that can come only through Paravidya, which is an experience to which you are initiated by the Guru. So without Guru's initiation, you cannot get into Paravidya. And Paravidya is not something which you learn from books. So whatever we learn from books is to know what we should not do, dharma, what we should not do, what disqualifies us from even approaching moksha. To avoid those pitfalls, we need bookish knowledge. Aparavidya is needed for that, to avoid pitfalls. But to reach the goal, we need Paravidya. This is the basic difference which Upanishads go into in detail. For example, Mundaka Upanishad goes into great detail on this Paravidya, on the significance of Omkara, Paravidya, and so on. Now, we have seen in earlier sessions, what is the significance of this Paravidya? How do we know that one has got Paravidya? What distinguishes a Paravidya person from an Aparavidya person? A Jnani who has acquired Paravidya is noted for Samadarshanam because he sees Brahman everywhere. He sees Brahman everywhere. Sarvam Khal Vidam Brahma. He knows that. He does not see any object. He sees only Brahman. That is the difference. Though apparently he deals with mundane matters like normal human beings do, apparently. That is only apparent. But in his heart of hearts, he knows that everything is mithya, everything is false. Only Brahman is Satyam. That is the difference. And so, he is described variously in Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and so on. He is described as Suhrit Sarva Bhutanam. He is the friend of all living beings. He is known for Samadarshanam, equanimity. Now, with the dawn of this kind of Brahmajnana, Sukha and Dukha do not matter to him. This is Paravidya. He does not distinguish between what we call Sukha and what we call Dukha. Now, there is a description of generally what is known as Vidya. Sarva dravyeshu vidyaiva dravyamahur anuttamam. Of course, this definition applies to even Aparavidya. Among all objects, among all things, sarva dravyeshu. Vidya eva dravyamahuhu anuttamam. Vidya is the only thing which is unparalleled, which cannot be exceeded by any other thing. Why? He is giving the reason. Aharyatvat, anarghatvat, akshayatvat cha sarvada. He gives three reasons. Aharyatvat, if you have acquired vidya, even aparavidya, even bookish knowledge, nobody can steal it from you, much less atmanubhava. If you have acquired atmanubhava, nobody can steal it from you. Even bookish knowledge, aparavidya, you may lose touch with the subject, you may lose the grip over the subject over a period of time. But nothing like losing atmanubhava. That is why aharyatvat, anarghatvat. It doesn't lead you to any blemish. It is perfect. Akshayatvat, there is no diminishing. Once you have acquired any vidya, even aparavidya, any knowledge, there is no diminishing. It is there with you. Sarvada, always. That is the definition of vidya in general. Now, to lead us into paravidya, from aparavidya, that is all Upanishad is all about. Many methods, many means are taught in Upanishads. But the main thing is to develop viveka, discrimination, to develop detachment from things mundane. That is the first step, viveka vairagya. We saw it the other day. Now, this is very nicely described by Manu in his Manusmriti. He says, Pravrittam karma samsevya devanam eti samyatam nivrittam sevamanastu bhutanyatyeti panchavai. He is talking about pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti is engaging in mundane activities. Nivritti is keeping a distance from mundane activities. Now, withdrawal from mundane activities. Now, this pravritti and nivritti should not be taken at face value. That is, a person who follows nivritti marga does not do any mundane activity. No, it's not like that. Similarly, a person who is following pravritti marga has no idea of detaching himself. No, that is also not correct. He is also having an element of detachment. One who is following nivritti marga is also engaged in various mundane activities. Then what is the distinction? What is the clear distinction between these two people? The clear distinction is one who is a proponent of pravritti marga is looking for fruits of actions. One who is following nivritti marga does not care for any fruit. Fruits of actions are immaterial for him. This is the only essential difference between these two. So as long as even if you are engaged in mundane activities or any activity for that matter, if you are detaching yourself from the fruit of that action, as they say, phala is dedicated to Ishvara Samarpanam, as they say in Bhagavad Gita. If you do that, if you don't think of the fruit at all, then you are a follower of Nivritti Marga. That is what he says here. Pravrittam karma samsevye devanam eti samyatam. If you are looking for the fruit and if you are in Pravritti Marga, you will reach Swarga. Devanam eti samyatam. You will reach the position of Devas. But if you are following Nivritti Marga, Nivrittam Sevamanastu. That is, even if you are engaged in activities, but you are relinquishing the fruit, if you don't think of the fruit, then Bhutan Yatyeti Panchavai. You don't come back to the body consisting of the 5 elements, Panchabhutani. That means you don't come back to this world. You go beyond the 5 elements. That's what he says. Bhutan Atyeti Panchavai. Atyeti means it transgresses, it transcends the 5 elements. Now, to give us a sense of why we should detach ourselves from mundane activities, in the next shloka, Manu describes this. He describes the body. This is what all saints have done. Upanishads also do the same. If you develop a distaste for your body, then you have developed a distaste for everything connected with body, which is mundane activity. Because all mundane activities are connected with body. Body includes mind here. Body includes mind. Now he is describing the body like this. Asthithonam snayuyutam mamsashonitalepanam karmavanadham durgandhi purnam mutra purishayoho. It has the pillars of bones. It is connected with tendons. It is full of flesh and blood, and it is covered by skin. This is the description of the body. Durgandhi purnam mutra purishayoho. It is full of urine and feces of bad smell. Jara choka samavishtam rogayatana maturam. This body is undergoing change. You reach old age and your mind develops shoka for various reasons. So mind is also part of the body. That is why shoka comes here. Shoka is part of the mind's emotions. Grief. Jara shoka samavishtam rogayatana maturam. Rogayatanam. This is the abode of all diseases. Body is the abode of all diseases. Aturam. It makes you sick. Rajaswalam anityancha. Rajaswalam. It is full of rajoguna. Anityam. Impermanent. Bhutavatam imam tyajet. Such a body made of 5 elements, you should not have any attachment to that. Imam tyajet. That is what he is saying. Now, to follow Jnana Marga, that is to develop a distaste for the body and to enter into Paravidya, to enter into experience of Atma under the guidance of a Guru is not easy. Now, Upanishad also warns that it is not easy. The warning that it is not easy does not mean that we don't do anything. It doesn't mean that. The warning is only for the purpose of giving you the strength to meet the pitfalls on the way. Whenever you meet with a failure, when you are on the spiritual path, don't feel disheartened because it's a difficult path you have undertaken. That is what he says. Uttisthate jagrate prapya varan nibodhate. Get up. Jagrate. Become awake. Now we are all sleeping according to the language of Upanishads. We are never awake because the only time when you are awake is awakening to knowledge, awakening to Paravidya. Since that has not happened, we are in the grip of Maya, which is equivalent to sleeping. So he says, Uttisthate jagrata prapya varan nibodhata. You go to good gurus who can wake you up. Kshurasya dhara rishita duratyaja durgam patastat kabayo vadanti. Kshurasya dhara. It is as difficult, this path is as difficult at the sharp edge of a sword. At the sharp edge of a sword. You are walking on the sharp edge of the sword, he says. Nishita Duratyaya, very difficult path. Durgam, very difficult path. Duratyaya, very difficult to accomplish this, to reach the goal. Durgam Phatas Tat Kavayo Vadanti. This is what people who have gone through this path, experienced people tell you this. Now, for attaining this Paravidya, generally, Shastras recommend that you take sannyasa ashrama. Out of the 4 ashramas, Brahmacharya, Garhastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa, Sannyasa is the most suited for attaining this kind of jnana, this kind of Paravidya, this kind of knowledge, this kind of Atmanubhava. It is not easy for the other 3. It's not easy, it's not impossible. To say that it is not easy does not mean it is impossible. But recommendation is, if you are into sannyasa ashrama, it is comparatively easier because you are not bound by the shackles of family. You are not bound by the shackles of wife, son, children, society. You have detached yourself from your family. You have detached yourself from society. You are all alone. All alone. Your only companion is Bhagavan. That is the benefit of sannyasa ashrama. Whereas in the other ashramas, you are in the midst of society, you are in the middle of a family, and so on. So there are ties binding you to your surroundings. Now the ties are broken, so in sannyasa ashrama, so it's easier. But there are exceptions. Janaka is a well-known exception. Even Bhagavan quotes Janaka in Bhagavad Gita while describing Karma Marga. He says, he quotes Janaka. He says, look at Janaka. He was a king. He was a grihastha. He was like anybody, any other king. But he was a Jivan Mukta. That is a very rare accomplishment. Very rare accomplishment. To become a jnani when you are a grihastha and when you are a king, that too. Shouldering the responsibility of the kingdom. Royal responsibilities. He was carrying on and still he was a jnani. He was living a life of a lotus. Padmapatram evambhasa. Just as water does not stick to the lotus leaf, the mundane life, the royal duties did not stick to him. This is a rare exception. Not everyone can aspire for this. There is a story regarding this in Janaka's, regarding Janaka. Now, Janaka's teacher was Yajnavalkya. Once Yajnavalkya was giving a discourse on Vedanta, which Janaka was attending as a disciple. And there were other fellow disciples who were also there. Now, the other fellow disciples did not know the greatness of Janaka. This is something like the story of Totakashtakam in Adi Shankara's life history. Like Totaka was not known for sharpness of intellect at that time. And Adi Shankara wanted to teach the others a lesson. He made Totaka what he was. So, what he became. So, similarly, the other fellow disciples of Janaka thought not so highly of Janaka. They thought he is the king. He is simply attending Vedanta classes. To let them know of the greatness of Janaka, what Yajnavalkya did was to create a false scene of a big fire in the palace. Big fire, huge fire. The palace was engulfed in a huge fire. And these fellow sadhus, they were all sadhus, sannyasis, they were running for life on seeing the fire engulfing the whole place. They were running for life. They didn't have any belongings. Whatever little belongings, if at all they had, they were worried about that. And they were running helter-skelter. Whereas Janaka was sitting in the class, listening to Yajnavalkya, as if nothing has happened. Then Yajnavalkya asked him, "See, look at the palace. It is engulfed in fire. Why are you not going and doing something?" Then Janaka said, There is a fire officer for that. The palace has got a fire officer, that is his job. My job is to listen to you now. I am sitting here in Vedanta class, I am listening to you. That was his greatness. Then the fellow disciples understood that. So, but it's not easy to achieve, isn't it? So, Bhagavan gives us the clue of how Janaka achieved it, how we can also achieve. What he says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Darshanam. That's what we saw just now in Manusmriti. Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam. Keep on Anudarshanam. Keep on, not once. Keep on seeing, doing repeatedly, because looking at this dosha once is not enough. We have all been doing that, but of no use to us, isn't it? Repeatedly, that's why he says Anudarshanam. Repeatedly look at the faults of Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Dara, old age, Vyadhi, diseases of the body, and Dukkha, whatever sorrows we face in life. If we look at all this, the deficiencies of all this, of mundane life, then we will develop a proper detachment. That is why he says Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam. Then we will slowly transfer our ideas, transmit this knowledge, and we will effect a change in ourselves from Pravritti Marga to Nivritti Marga. So this is all about Vidya. It comes immediately after Dhihi, intellect. There is a relationship. Unless you use your intellect in a solid way, you cannot go anywhere near Paravidya. Intellect is the basis. That is where the detachment has to dawn. That is why he is placing it immediately after Dhihi. Next we move on to Satyam, truth. Satyam Vada, Veda says, we all know it. Speak the truth. Why it says speak? Because speaking is what binds us to the outside world. Thinking does not bind us with the outside world. If you are true in your thoughts and if you are not true in your words, that is, if your words do not conform to your thoughts, then you are doing great harm to yourself. Your spiritual advancement is completely shaken, broken. That is why Satyam Vada is important. Speaking the truth. Speaking the truth as it is, without any coloring, without any change. And you should also think naturally of truth. Only after, when you think of truth, you will speak the truth. Speaking follows thinking. So you have achieved two things. You have thought of truth, you have also spoken truth. Then you have to act. Thought, word and deed. That is also there. Your deeds should be truthful. That follows words. So all the three, thought, word and deed, you should follow Satyam. But speaking the truth has been given a lot of importance in our Shastras. Because once you have spoken the truth, you have attuned yourself to the realm of truth. Realm of truth is Bhagavan. Once you have attuned yourself to that harmony, you will not, even with your deeds, you will not go astray. That is what is expected. That is the experience of the Maharshis. That is why there is so much importance attached to speaking the truth. Ritagam Satyam Param Brahma, we say. Rita and Satya. Now, Rita is variously interpreted. One of the main interpretations is universal order. And Satya is this, what we are now talking about, truth. Now, universal order and truth go together. That's why they have been put together here. Parabrahman is nothing but Rita and Satya. Now, Manu says, Satyam bruyat, Priyam bruyat, na bruyat, Satyam apriyam. This is another thing. For the sake of speaking truth, it does not mean you speak something which is not pleasant. Because you can speak truth and you can keep on speaking all the 24 hours ill of somebody. That is truth. You know so many people who are bad, who have done bad things, you keep on telling about that. That will only spoil your own character, because Shastra says clearly that whatever thoughts you entertain, whatever speech you make, leaves a permanent effect on your chitta. Chitta is the repository of smriti, memory. So, by speaking, you not only impact your own vasanas, your own smriti, you are also impacting your surroundings. So, if you are keeping on speaking ill of someone, it may be truth, it may be facts, that is not helpful to anyone, to the listener or to you. So, you don't do that. Nabruyat satyam apriyam. Priyam cha nanratam bruyat yesha dharma sanatana. For the sake of being pleasant, don't tell untruth. That is the next condition. Priyam cha nanratam bruyat yesha dharma sanatana. This is the eternal dharma. Satyam is defined as we just now saw, Vang manasayor aika rupyam. Harmony between the thought and the word. Satyam bhuta hitam priyam. These are all various citations from Upanishad. Satyam bhuta hitam priyam. Satyam should be like this. It should be beneficial to all living beings, and it should be pleasing. Satya pratisthayam kriyaphala ashrayatvam. So says Patanjali in Yoga Sutra. That is, if you keep on speaking truth, if truth has become your second nature, then whatever you say will happen. That is what he says. Kriyaphala ashrayatvam. Whatever you predict will happen, because you have acquired through that tapas. What tapas have you done? Speaking the truth is the greatest tapas. By that tapas, you have acquired the power of making things happen by just talking about it. Tomorrow you will get one crore of rupees. You go and tell someone. He will get 1 crore of rupees because you have told him, because you have been a truthful person. This is the quality of Maharshis. Maharshis have walked the path of Satyam, and that is why their words are so powerful. That's what Patanjali says. This is similar to what Patanjali says in another context about ahimsa. Ahimsa, if you are following in all its intensity, literally as well as in all its wide implication, if you are following ahimsa, then in your presence, animals which normally are hostile to each other will be friendly. That is what we find in the ashramas of Maharshis described in Ramayana and various other Puranas. We find whenever there is a Maharshi's ashram described, we find that a lion and a deer are friendly, an eagle and a serpent are friendly. How is it possible? Because this Rishi has been known for ahimsa. So in his presence at least, there cannot be any hostility among living beings. That is what Patanjali has said. Same thing. If you are a proponent of truth, whatever you predict, whatever you say will happen. Satyameva param brahma satyarupo janardanaha nahi satyat paro dharmo nanritat patakam param. Mahabharata says. There is no greater dharma than truth. There is no greater adharma than untruth. Nanritat patakam param. There is no greater sin than untruth. Mundaka Upanishad says, Satyameva jayate nanritam. Satyasya pantha vitato devayanaha. Satyameva jayate is what we have been adopting in our government fields. Satyameva jayate na anrutam. Untruth will not be victorious. Satyasya pantha vitato devayanaha. If you follow the path of Satyam, that is the path followed by Devas. That is the path which will lead you to light. Devayanaha here actually means the path of light, path which will take you to moksha. Enakramant rishiyo hyaptakama yatrata satyasya paramam nidhanam. Rishis have walked this path of Satyam. Aptakama, they achieved whatever they wanted. Whatever they wished for, they achieved, they accomplished. How? By walking the path of truth. Mahabharata says in a very nice way about Satyam. Of course, about Satyam, there are a lot of statements made in Ramayana. We will see them during our Ramayana lecture. Ashwamedha Sahasram cha Satyam cha Tulaya Dhritam. Mahabharata says. One Brahma weighed 1,000 Ashwamedha yajnas in one scale. The other scale he put Satyam, which is heavier. Ashwamedha Sahasradhi Satyameva Vishishyate. He found the Satyam was heavier than 1,000 Ashwamedha yajnas. We just mentioned Ramayana. Ramayana, there are lots of statements about Satyam. One of the telling statements is Ramo Dvirnabhi Bhashate. Rama does not speak the same thing in a different manner in another context. He says only one thing at all times. Because that is Satyam. Satyam cannot change. Dvihina Abhibhashate. There are no two versions of Satyam. There is only one version. That is what Rama speaks. There is a story, a very interesting story of what Satyam can do to you, can bring about. In Devi Bhagavatam, there is a story of Satyavrata. His name is Satyavrata. There was a Brahmana who was childless. He performed Putra Kameshti Yajna, and in Yajna, as usual, there is a Hota, Adharyu, Brahma, and so on. Now, Hota, Adharyu, Udgatha, and Brahma. These are the four people without whom you cannot perform a Yajna. Hota is the one who chants Rigvedic hymns. Adharyu is who actually performs the ahutis using Yajurveda mantras. And Udgatha is the one who recites Sama mantras. And Brahma is the one who recites Atharvaveda mantra and also supervises the entire operation. He has a supervisory power over the remaining three. Now, this in this particular yajna, the Udgatha, the Samavedic scholar, was one Gobhila, a great Acharya, great Samaveda Acharya. Now, during the, as you know, in Samaveda chanting, Swara is very important. In all Vedas, Swara is important. Every Veda, Swara is important. Even more so in Samaveda because it is something like music. So, this Gobhila, though he was one of the greatest Acharyas of Samaveda, he had become old. So, during chanting, there was a little difficulty in keeping to the scale of this Swara. So, there was a little deviation, which this Yajamana noticed. Yajamana was so knowledgeable in those days. Yajamana noticed, he became very furious because he thought by wrong chanting, his purpose of yajna will be not served. He will not get a putra. That was his worry. So he went and taunted Gobhila. In the open sabha, he went and taunted him. He said, "What is this? You are spoiling my yajna. You are not chanting properly." And so on. Gobhila became very angry. He said, no, you will get a son, don't worry. My chanting will not affect. You are getting a son. But because you became angry with me and you dishonored me like this in this open sabha, your son will be born a murkha, a fool. Immediately he became shaken. He fell at his feet. He said, no, I made a mistake. Please excuse me, this and that. Then he was truly repentant. A murkha son is of no use to a Brahmana, he said. A foolish son. What is the use? Because he cannot learn Vedas. For learning Vedas, you need a good intellect. And if you are a fool, if you are a murkha, you can't learn Vedas. So what do I do with such a son? It's better I don't have a son like this. He went and pleaded with Gobhila. Then Gobhila said, no, whatever curse has been given, I cannot withdraw. That's what normally all rishis say. But there is a way out. He will be born a fool, but later on he will become a great scholar. That was the blessing he gave. He was happy with the repentance shown by the Yajamana. So later on this boy was born up to the age of 7, which is the right age for Sandhya, for Upanayana. He could not even speak anything properly. Then he was, Upanayana was done. He could not utter any Veda mantra No, there's no question of performing Sandhya Vandana, no question of Gayatri, nothing. There's a complete dunce, absolute, nothing, no word he could utter. Naturally, parents were extremely worried. Though Gobila had said later on he will become a scholar, but very worrying period for them. Then they were talking about among themselves, parents, father and mother, they were worried and they were expressing their grief. This boy was becoming, he up to 12 years of age, he was in the household. Then at the age of 12, he went to the forest because he felt very bad. I am a burden to my parents. I cannot speak a word. I don't know anything. I must not have, he says, I must not have given books in Dhanam to a good Brahmana in my previous birth. He says that. That much knowledge he has somehow acquired. I have not donated any books in Dhanam to a good Brahmana in my previous birth. That is why I am not able to speak even a word now. He went to the forest. There he decided one thing. I will always speak the truth, whatever happens. That is why he became known as Satyavrata. And he became famous there in the forest. He had a little hut and he was living there. Once a hunter came, he aimed his arrow at a pig. The pig was hurt and pig entered the hut. Immediately, pig was followed by the hunter. The hunter asked, did you see the pig? Now, here comes the test for his truth. If he says, I have seen the pig, it is here, then he would have endangered the pig, obviously. And if he had said that I have not seen the pig, then he is speaking untruth. He has taken Vrata of Satya. He is known as Satyavrata. And that hunter was pointing out, when he was dilly-dallying, when he was confused, when he didn't know, hesitant, when he didn't know what to do, hunter knew that this man is not straightforward. So he said, you are Satyavrata. Don't tell me untruth. Tell me the truth. Where is the pig? Then he didn't know what to do. Suddenly, he was blessed by Devi. Why he was blessed by Devi? Because when the pig entered, he had just said I. He had just said I. And Devi took I as Aim. Aim is the Bijakshara for knowledge, Saraswata Bijam. So, she blessed him with all knowledge in the world. That is what Devi Bhagavatam says. In 1 second, in 1 split second, all knowledge came to him. He became a poet like Valmiki. Next to Shloka says, he became poet like Valmiki and uttered a Shloka. There he says, Ya pashyati nasa brute, ya brute sana pashyati. A fellow who did not speak a word so far is uttering a very deep Shloka with a very deep meaning. He says, Ya pashyati nasa brute. The one which sees does not speak. The one which speaks does not see. That means the mouth speaks, it does not have the power to see. The eye sees, but it does not have the power to speak. This is what he says. That means though I might have seen the pig, I cannot tell you because I have to use my mouth. Mouth does not see. This is the obvious meaning, which the hunter understood. Yeah, this fellow is, I think he has become mad. He is telling something which has no meaning. He went away. But actually, this has a very deep philosophical import. That is why this verse is very important for us. He says, the one who has attained Brahmanubhava, ya pashyati, the one who has attained Brahmanubhava, Brahma Sakshatkara, that's why he is using the word pashyati. He sees Bhagavan, he sees Brahman. Brahma Sakshatkara, he cannot speak because Brahma Sakshatkara, Brahmanubhava is beyond words. And one who keeps on talking about it, like all of us do, he has never had a Brahmanubhava. Ya brute sana pashyati. This is the Kandavan Vindadillai, Vindavan Kandadillai. There is a famous saying in Tamil. This is the Sanskrit version of that, you can say. So he became a great poet, a great scholar, naturally, within a minute. So his parents came and took him back with all honor. The whole kingdom honored him later on and all that. That's the story of Satyavrata. So you have the story of Harishchandra, you have the story of Yudhishthira, you have the story of Dasharatha, who stuck to truth under a very trying circumstance. He kept his word, isn't it, Dasharatha? Rama is keeping the word and going to forest is okay. But what about Dasharatha? He kept his word, isn't it? So these are lots of lessons for us on how truth should be pursued. There is another story which is very interesting of how truth should be handled. Handling truth is also not easy. As we saw, that when you speak the truth, it should not be apriyam, it should be hitam, it should be useful, and it should not be unpleasant. So there is a story in Mahabharata. Arjuna had committed that whoever insults his bow, Gandiva, he will be put to death. This was his vow. Now, during the Mahabharata war, though he made a lot of attempts, he could not kill Karna. So Yudhishthira made fun of him. Making fun of Arjuna, no problem. But he made fun of Gandiva. He said, what is your Gandiva doing? What is the use of holding Gandiva in your hand? You better throw it. Something like this, he said. Now, this vow comes into play. Now he has insulted Gandiva, so Arjuna has to kill Yudhishthira. So he was about to pick up a sword and about to rush towards Yudhishthira to kill him. This is recorded in Mahabharata during the war. So Krishna was there, luckily, by the side. He stopped him. He said, "Hey, what are you doing? You are killing your elder brother. Jyeshta bhrata pithus samanaha. Elder brother is like father. How can you kill him?" He said, "No, this is my vow. I don't care whether he is elder brother or no. Anyone. I have to keep my word." Then he said, "But who told you that by killing him only you can keep your word? How else can I keep my word? My vow is to kill a person who insults Gandiva. He has insulted Gandiva. So I have to kill him." He said, No. There are exceptions. There are different ways of handling this truth. Krishna explains. If you speak a word of insult to an elder, it is as good as killing him. If you speak a word of insult to an elder, to a senior in age, senior in jnana, etc., jnana vriddhaha, vayo vriddhaha, shila vriddhaha, these are all described in Ramayana, isn't it? Now, if you go and insult him, it is as good as killing him. There is a shastra for that. So you go and speak some word of abuse to Yudhishthira, that is redeeming your vow, redeeming your word. That is what he did, and so the story ends there. This is how truth has to be handled. Drona was killed by telling a lie about Ashwathama. Ashwathama hataha kunjaraha. When he said kunjaraha, of course, Krishna blew his conch and then Drona could not hear them, so goes the story. But he asked for confirmation from Yudhishthira. Narova kunjarova, he said. But again, when he said kunjarova, again Krishna made it out of hearing. So goes the story. Now, we were talking about Atma Gunas, 8 Atma Gunas. Now, this truth, Satyam, is associated with Mangala. Mangala is auspiciousness. The greatest auspiciousness is Satyam. Actually, we think that by telling a lie, by short-circuiting, we are very clever. We have achieved something. We think like that in our normal mundane activities. But Shastra doesn't accept it. The greatest auspiciousness comes to you by following the path of truth. The last of the common dharmas is akrodha. Akrodha is freedom from anger. It is described like this by Adi Shankara. What is akrodha? He is describing like this. Paraihi akrishtasya abhihatasya va praptasya krodhasya upashamanam. Whenever anger arises, why anger arises? Paraihi akrishtasya abhihatasya va. When you are struck by somebody, when you are insulted by somebody, then you feel angry. And that anger should be subdued. That is akrodha. If you subdue your anger under trying circumstances, then that is akrodha. Parapida phalachitta vikara rahitatvam. When somebody, another saint, when somebody harms you, somebody troubles you, tortures you, there is a vikara in your mind, isn't it? That vikara is krodha. But if you train yourself to free yourself from that vikara, parapeda phala chitta vikara rahitatvam, then that is akrodha. Bhartrihari says very nicely about this. Nakaschit chandakopanam atmiyo nama bhubujam. He is talking about kings here, bhubujam, kings. For kings, if they are angry, they become angry for every little thing, then they will not have any well-wisher, they will not have any friends. That's what he says. No real friend. Atmiyo nama bhubujam. Na kaschit. He will not have a single friend. Hotaram juhvatamapi sprishto dahati pavakaha. Another saying in Shastra. What anger does to you? Hotaram juhvatamapi sprishto dahati pavakaha. You are doing an ahuti in Agni and by mistake you touch Agni. You are the one who is giving ahuti in Agni, but by mistake you touch Agni. But does Agni not harm you? Does not burn your skin? It does. It doesn't care whether you are the ahuti giver, so I will not harm him, I will not burn his skin. Agni doesn't do that. Agni is going to harm you, going to burn your skin under any circumstances, under all circumstances. So also, Krodha will always affect you. There is no circumstance under which you can escape the ill effects of Krodha. That's what he is trying to say. There is a famous Samaveda chant, which was a favorite of Paramacharya. This is called Setu Sama. Now, I'll give only the words of the Sama. It says, Setunstara dustaran, danena adanam. Setunstara dustaran. Setu is here, it means obstacle. You cross the obstacles which are difficult to cross, dustaran. The Veda agrees that these are difficult. These are difficult obstacles, difficult to overcome, but you have to do that. Setunstara dustaran, danena adanam. How do you do? That gives you the word. Adanam, if you have got a tendency of being miserly, not giving anything to anyone, start giving. At least something you start giving today, tomorrow you will give more. Day after tomorrow you will give even more. Start. Danena adanam. Similarly, next, akrodhena krodham. Whenever krodham comes, you develop akrodha. You tell your mind. There are many ways recommended in Shastra, recommended in psychology to subdue anger, to get the mind rid of anger. So you follow any one of those methods. The simplest method is Bhagavan Nama. Whenever Krodha comes to you, you chant the name of Bhagavan. Krodha will leave you. That's what Shastra says. That is the experience of ordinary people also. So he says, develop that habit. Akrodhena krodham. Shraddhaya ashraddham. Shraddha is faith, seriousness. Following the Shastra, even if you don't understand the meaning of Shastra, even if you don't know the implications of Shastra, follow it literally. That is Shraddha. Over a period of time, you will develop the Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam. You will develop the knowledge. But don't worry about knowledge at the beginning. Develop Shraddha. So, Shraddhaya Ashraddham. If you are not having enough faith, start having faith. Develop that habit. These are all habits to be developed. Next is Satyena Anritam. You have got a bad habit of telling lies. Now start speaking truth from today. Satyena Anritam. Esha Gatihi. It completes, the chant completes. The last is very nice, very interesting. Esha Gatihi. This is the path. This is the way. Etad Amritam. This is Amrita. This is nectar. Swargacha. Jyotirgacha. If you follow this path, you will reach Swarga. You will reach light. You will reach Moksham. Setuns tirtva chaturaha. The four obstacles which have been mentioned. Adanam, Krodham, Ashraddha and Anritam. These are the 4 obstacles and 4 remedies have been given. Setum stirtva chaturaha. If you cross these 4 obstacles, you can reach moksham. This is beautiful. If you sing properly with the proper chant of Samaveda, it's extremely beautiful. That is why Mahaswami liked it very much. Puranas talk about the Krodha of saints, Maharshis. Maharshis we find many times.
Me llama, le dio una culia. Ella quiere que le chante una culia. Le chupo los sobacos, no anda con wea. Es terrible aguja la gila culia. Dice, porque a ella le gusta chupar pico.
There is some disturbance.
Porque a ella le gusta chupar pico.
Hello? Hello? What happened? There is some music playing. I can't hear anything else.
Mama, yaro, ஏதோ ஒரு இது மாதிரி பண்ணா மீட்டிங் எண்ட் பண்ணிட்டு திரும்ப ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றது. Looks like somebody is trying to deliberate.
No, you can send them out of the.
Karthik, mute it. Karthik, mute it. Mute it. Karthik, make me the admin too, please.
Yeah, I've removed them. Looks like there's somebody trying to hijack the meeting, so I've removed the folks.
Yeah. I think we have to make it password protected again.
Yeah, it is already. So looks like we need to maybe do. Yeah, we'll change it. Sorry, Mama, I'll unmute you, Mama. Give me just 1 second. Mama, if you can unmute, no?
Yeah. I have done, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, right. Okay. So we find that saints become furious frequently. 1 minute. There's some problem in my. Okay. Saints become furious and they pronounce curses, but their anger doesn't last even for a minute. Purana says that. Shanakopa mahanto vai papishtaha kalpakopanaha. Beautiful. Devi Bhagavatam says that. Saints, their anger lasts only for 1 kshana, whereas the sinners, papishtaha kalpakopanaha, their anger lasts for a kalpa, 1000 chaturyugas. Kshanardha manyavaha, another expression which comes frequently in Puranas while describing the saints. Their anger lasts only half a kshana, kshana ardha manyavaha. So that is the great quality of saints. By tapas they have acquired that great quality of subduing anger. Though they developed anger, they pronounced a curse, but they don't carry on with the attitude of krodha. There is a very interesting story of Sant Eknath. Sant Eknath was a great saint from Maharashtra, as all of us know. And one day when he was returning after a bath in Godavari, a chap was there on the way when he was coming out from the river bank, or the first house when he was coming out of the river bank. At the upper level of the upper floor of the house, a man was standing and he started spitting on him from there. He spat on him for no reason. There was no enmity, there was no reason. Perhaps he was envious of him. Envy was perhaps the only enmity. So he spat on him. So anybody who in his position would have felt krodha, isn't it? He would have looked up and said, "Why are you doing this?" and all. He would have picked up a fight, isn't it? What did Sant Eknath do? He went back to Godavari, took a bath again, he came. Second time this fellow did. Second time he went to take a bath. This went on for 100 times. 100 times this fellow spat, and 100 times Sant Eknath took bath in Godavari. Then this fellow became nervous. He didn't understand what was going on. He came down, he fell at his feet, and he said, how is it possible for you to not develop anger? And I spat on you 100 times, not once or twice. You know what is the reply? Was a very telling instance of akrodha. Now, Eknath said, no, I am very thankful to you. He said, what do you mean you are thankful to me? What for? Because left to me, I would have taken bath in this holy Godavari only once. Now you made me take bath in this holy Godavari 100 times. So should I not thank you? He said. This is akrodha. Now, the pinnacle of akrodha is shown in some of these instances. A lot of such examples can be given from our Puranas about Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, and so on. But I think we have reached the time limit. We can close now. We have gone over all the 10 common dharmas. There is no end to this kind of explanations of common dharmas. Dharma is something which cannot be propounded in words, and that too common dharmas. At least varnashram dharmas can be expressed, can be explained in certain words. Common dharmas, how can you explain? They have to be followed, and they have to be practiced. It's not easy. So some little attempt we have made during these 5 lectures to go over these 10 dharmas to get a glimpse of what these 5 dharmas stand for and what great saints have told us, what Upanishads have told us, what Puranas tell us. That is what we were trying to get a glimpse of. By the grace of Shri Periyava, I think these lectures have gone on very well. We have tried to cover whatever little we could in these 5 lectures with your cooperation. KKSF has organized this very nicely. I am very grateful to KKSF. We continue next Saturday with a special lecture on Nataraja Tatvam. Next Saturday, 21st. And 26th. Next Sunday, 27th, we start with Ramayana lectures, Sankshipta Ramayanam lectures. Are there any questions so far? Anybody wants to say anything?
Mama, this is Vivek. So one observation that I think this is one of the, as we are probably going more into the depth of Dharma, because today there was potential for a lot of questions. I mean, but I think the example that you gave pretty much covered it. But the one question I was having, is Satya an absolute Dharma in itself, or does it have, is it moderated by the context? And you kind of gave that example of the boy who the animal. So I think, so to me, there's a higher goal that sometimes Satya could be subservient to, which is
exactly. That's right.
So that was one thing that came out of today's session. So just, I want to thank you, Mama. It's been 5 days have been very, very great in terms of, getting us some clarity. And I'm also going to use this opportunity to make a small pitch about KKSF, because this Friday is Bhagavad Gita Jayanti, and you talked about Dharma, and so Gita starts with Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. So this week we'll be doing the Bhagavad Gita Parayanam on Friday in this platform. So to some extent, that the Dharma keeps continuing and happening. So I wanted to make that pitch, and so maybe in subsequent lectures we can kind of make some reference, because this month also being the Gita Jayanti, to Bhagavad Gita as a Dharma Shastram would be good, very useful to those of us, because you're going to talk about Ramayana as a Dharma Shastram. If you can also allude to a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, will be really useful to all of us.
Sure.
And
Thank
again,
you.
are there any questions?
No, thank you, and my apologies for the technical interference. And I hope even the folks with malicious intent, I hope Periyava's blessings changes them. So
Vivek, somebody joined in between. Last name is Lopez and Fernando. I noticed it. After
yeah,
that,
I think I have reported them to Zoom, and I mean, obviously there are a lot of folks, bad actors. They're trying to randomly, run things.
Hopefully, just like they come, maybe they also become dharmic from today because they learn.
Absolutely, and I think that's going back to the last example of where Mama shared, right? So even the folks who have bad intent, I think we should try to give them. This is an opportunity for them. So I think
we have to reform ourselves first.
Definitely.
Yes.
So maybe we have to see, they were checking if we are really listening to the Upanyasa.
Check for us. Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
With that, Mama, you can request you to conclude, and we thank all of you for being there. Again, the link will not change, but just as a reminder, we'll send the same link out next week for the Upanyasams that follow on 26th and 27th.
Right.
Mama, Namaskaram, Mama. Shivakumar, New Jersey, Pesre. We are very fortunate, Mama, to listen to your lectures. Rumba pramadama irundhu, Mama. Thank you so much, Mama. Namaskaram, Mama. Ungaloda aashirvaadam pramadama irundhu, Mama.